There I stood, boots sunk deep in mud, feet on the line of what was once a strong dam. Now a crazy flood tearing straight through the shiny new houses Stone Creek Homeowners Association had built illegally on property that was mine. Freeze frame. That's me, Elias Thorne, the guy who watched an entire suburban empire get washed away in a wave of water. You're probably asking yourself how I managed to get myself into this, why no one did anything to prevent it, and what in the world drove me to let it all unfold like this. It began with a betrayal, a theft, not of property, but of the empire my grandfather created. A war I never opted for, but promised I'd bring to its conclusion. When my grandfather Amos Thorne passed away, he left behind more than land. He left history, a rugged tract of country where fields breathe deep, woods engulf secrets, and in the center of it all, a dam. A dam he built himself after surviving a flood that had almost drowned this valley. That dam wasn't just rock and earth. It was grit made solid, a wall against the fury of nature. It was mine, blindingly obvious in his will. I lived quietly for years, worked in town, spent weekends wandering along the crest of the dam, fixing fence posts, watching the hills shift with the seasons. I thought peace was mine. And then there was the letter, crisp white, gold stamped, Stone Creek HOA. Thing was, I was not in an HOA. Never had been. My property sat beyond the town limits, safeguarded by grandfathered zoning of days gone by. But the letter told me that I was under consideration. New county maps, jammed through a bogus vote, now fenced me in. Curiosity turned to anger in a flash when I stormed into the next town meeting and spotted some slick-haired developer gesturing with brightly colored maps. My land consumed into their expansion plan as though it never was mine. That's when I met her, Miranda Hale, president of the HOA, a smile as jagged as shattered glass. She pretended dumb, cocked head like a confused bird, told me it was all legal, just a mistaken survey correction. I walked out of that meeting with a stone in my gut. Then the invasion. Surveyors marched across my fields, gaudy flags stabbing my earth. Bulldozers came later. Roads slashed through pastures where Amos taught me how to ride. Foundations appeared rapidly, 58 luxury houses in a sloppy grid before I could react. I struggled, fought hard, hired a lawyer, Tom Carver. Good guy, but even he flinched when he read the names on those papers. County clerks avoided my calls. Complaints vanished. Miranda smiled like everything was fine. They portrayed me as some senile old man hanging on to old deeds. At the next meeting, she even made me a buyout offer, voice laced with insincere sympathy. I stood up, voice like thunder, and told them I'd never sell, not what my family built. Silence. Then things got nasty. Violations piled up, fines for codes that didn't exist. One morning, a sign popped up in my yard. Future development, no trespassing, on my own land. Sheriff shrugged. Civil matter. Then a county clerk, risking her job, leaned over and whispered the truth. Stone Creek was bribing council members for their votes, ramming zoning changes through backroom deals. I was outgunned, outmaneuvered. Every complaint I filed got shut down with veiled threats of a lawsuit. So I changed course. I stopped trying to fight their way. I went quiet, stopped showing up, left the stakes standing, smiled back at Miranda from my porch. While cheering them on to growth, I documented it all. Photos of code violations, ignored ordinances, bulldozed trees. I recorded calls, stored letters, found tainted approvals in public records. Inside Amos's old shop below the dam, I built my own case. Underhanded, patience. They thought I was finished. They did not understand the land. That dam, 80 years ago, a flood ravaged this valley. Amos, who was just a boy at the time, shoveled sandbags alongside neighbors. When the waters receded, he swore it would never happen again. No engineer, obstinate he was, he built that dam himself. And it held. But to the HOA, it was an eyesore, something to be razed for cul-de-sacs and fountains. They lined drainage ditches, redirected creeks. And then, one day I saw the tobacco company's backhoe slice into the side of the dam. Not a deep gash, but sufficient. I did not scream, did not stop them. I just let it happen. They did not understand the land, and that was their deadly mistake. I stopped working on the dam. No more fixing leaks or clearing channels. Let the trash pile up. Let the pressure build. I ghosted, making my way through the woods while they were grilling burgers on freshly dried off patios. And then the rains came. Early fall brought puddles in their perfect lawns. Winter soaked the ground. Spring came too early. The ground caved in where the backhoe had hammered. Cracks became farther and farther apart. I never burst that dam. That would have been sinful. I just stopped maintaining it. Nature does recall. Their hubris accelerated. Clogged drains, leaning lawns, creeks that defied their charts. The initial storm was an omen. Sinkholes yawned, basements filled. Miranda attributed it to the weather, ordered additional dirt, additional trenches, additional HOA fees. Yet they ignored the signs. I kept my silence. Paid Miranda a courteous nod at the gas station while she boasted about Stone Creek. It wasn't revenge. It was justice. Justice etched by the land itself. Then came the big one. Rain poured like a war drum. The valley drowned in mist. I watched porch lights blink like fireflies from my porch. I knew the dam was no good. I strolled the fields of yesteryear, now patchwork houses, sidewalks were broken, cul-de-sacs held water. I drove past Miranda's mansion, phony stone, white columns, and saw her yelling into a phone from the window. Crews scrambled about. Sandbags, trenches, not a chance. The second storm came harder, colder, meaner. The dam groaned. Breaches formed. I was on a ridge when the ground trembled. And then, the collapse, slow and irreversible. Tons of water screamed down the valley, cutting through trees, relearning the land's memory. Stone Creek was erased. Roofs floated like driftwood. Roads twisted. Cars vanished. Miranda's mansion remained, temporarily. I could see her shadow on the porch as the flood washed across her lawn. Then the house. Half of it slid into the current. The other crumpled behind. Within minutes, Stone Creek was destroyed. Emergency responders were too late. Sirens were useless against the fury of a mountain. I stayed dry, heart calm. Guilt whispered. Satisfaction roared. I had warned them, sent notices, all in writing. Legally, I was in the clear. Insurance denied claims. Act of God. Miranda sued everyone. Me, the county, the builders. Nothing stood up. Investigators found bribes. Falsified reports. Fake filings. Homeowners turned on her. Banks folded. The Stone Creek reputation. Toxic. Miranda lost her car, her diamonds, her pride. Ran to a cousin's house in shame. The HOA fell apart in lawsuits. I adverse possessed. Nobody complained. The muddy wreckage reverted to me, acre by acre. I rebuilt the dam. Not flashy, but solid. Old-timers helped, remembering Amos. The fields ran wild again. Creeks flowed freely. Deer came back. One cold autumn morning, I planted a cedar post in the road. Put up a sign. Welcome to Thorns Hollow. We respect the land. Below, nature created it. Memory guards it. Early before sunrise, I sat on the dam, coffee in one hand, soaking up golden light on the valley. There were scars, a twisted manhole, a distorted fence. But nature heals. I thought of Amos, Miranda, the flood that devastated her kingdom and rebuilt mine. The mountains shuddered, not with rage, but with peace. I wrapped my thermos around the past, around the truth, and grinned as sunlight spilled across Thorns Hollow.